following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
What's good, PSA listeners? We're back with another public sports announcement. I'm Alvin Glem. I'm here with...
What's going on, y'all? This is Sam here.
Hope everybody's been well. Razan here.
Yep, and we're the PSA crew. As y'all know, we're on iHeartRadio, Public Radio, iTunes, Google Play, Go Defy Life. You can listen to us almost anywhere. Please go support Go Defy Life, the website, and the content, and our podcast. We got other podcasts up there. It's kind of a one-stop shop. You can get anything you need. So Go Defy Life. It's the place to be. This week, we got a pretty exciting episode. It's going to be a lot of NFL stuff, but we got some big trades coming up with the NFL trade deadline coming soon. We're going to talk about our dark horse Super Bowl contenders. And then in the end, we're going to get some commentary on the Eric Reid, Malcolm Jenkins, and Colin Kaepernick and all that madness that's going on with that. So without any further ado, let's get it started with some NFL trades. The Raiders are a big topic of conversation. They just traded Amari Cooper, Derek Carr, naming the win. I've been hearing it a lot. And Carl Joseph, the safeties, also another name I've been hearing in the trade conversation. So how do you guys feel about the Amari Cooper trade for the first round to the Cowboys? And Derek Carr and Carl Joseph, how do you guys feel about them? And where do you think they're heading?
Well, I thought the Amari Cooper trade was a good one. They got a really good return getting a first-rounder back for him. I kind of think that was a bad trade for the Cowboys. I don't think it was worth a first-rounder. But all props go to the Raiders on this one. They weren't really happy with Amari Cooper. He wasn't really producing on the field. And they got some good compensation for it. As far as the other names we're hearing go, Carl Joseph and Derek Carr, I don't understand why you would trade away your franchise quarterback that John Gruden was so excited to coach. He joined them just for Derek Carr because, you know, he saw so much potential, and y'all make it through 7 games, and now you want to trade away Derek Carr, your future. So that doesn't make much sense to me. The Carl Joseph trade, I like Carl Joseph. I think he's talented, but I don't think that he's a complete game changer. So if they can get a good return for him, that works. You know, I'm not mad at them trading him away, but looking to trade Derek Carr, that makes no sense to me. And really, if you do look to trade Derek Carr, it kind of says that you aren't looking so much into the future because there's no future without a franchise quarterback.
The moves that the Raiders are making, they're clearly going through a rebuild. Traded some of your – it's not a great roster, so you've already traded some of your better players. I think the Amari Cooper trade, I still don't know how I feel about it because there's so much potential in Amari Cooper. He was so talented coming out, but the Raiders are clearly going through a rebuild. So getting a first-round pick for a guy who wasn't really performing as a top 10 receiver or even as a first-round receiver, it's great compensation. The Raiders now have 3 first-round picks, and like we said, they might be trading Derek Carr, who, if they got a first-round pick for Amari Cooper, they're definitely going to look for a first-round pick for Derek Carr. I don't know if Carl Joseph they'll get a first-round pick for, but I'll throw out a team for Carl Joseph, and I think it's the Seattle Seahawks. They need safety help. A lot of people thought he could be in the mold of a Cam Chancellor, and I still think he can be if coached properly. He has a lot of physical tools and abilities. He hasn't been the first-round pick that we had hoped, but neither has Amari Cooper. So this is really just a lot of disappointments, and they're getting rid of him. The Cowboys needed receiver help, but it didn't make sense from giving a first-round pick, which as of right now is a top 10 pick. So you just gave up a top 10 pick for Amari Cooper, and you're going to have to pay him $13 million next year because he's going to be on his 5th-year option. And then after that, you're going to have to give him a long-term contract because you just traded a first-round pick. You traded away something that could have been pivotal in your team's success for a guy who you're now going to have to pay at least, you know, over the $10 million range because you gave up that pick for him. Amari Cooper has all the leverage.
And you don't know if he's going to perform.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't know how he'll be. And really no receiver has performed in the Cowboys offense since Ezekiel Elliott has gotten there. It's not Zeke's fault. It's that he's so damn good at what he does. There's no need for there to be a receiver outperforming everybody or really being a dominant number one receiver. But I think if they had given up a second round pick, I'd feel a lot better about it. But they did what they did, and what sucks is that the Cowboys have done this before. They did it for Roy Williams. They gave up a first round pick for him, and that did not work out. They've done it before for another receiver, and that didn't work out either. So you hope that it can make change. I'm a Giants fan. We're not doing really well, so to see this trade be a failure, it makes me kind of happy, honestly. But I am an Amari Cooper fan. If he does well, I'll be happy for him. With Derek Carr, I think Derek Carr can go to many teams. One being the Jaguars, who I know we're going to talk a little later about. Two is being the New York Giants. If Eli's traded, then I think it's a pretty good landing spot for Derek Carr. And those are the two teams that I could think of off the top of my head, and I know that they need quarterback help.
Yeah, I like the Jags and Giants. I think they both have a pretty good shot of making a move for a quarterback because that's something they both really need. And Derek Carr would be a quarterback for the future for the Giants. They wouldn't need to go out and get one in this draft, so that would be a really good fit for them.
Yeah. A second team or a third team I'll throw out is actually the Miami Dolphins. I mean, they're not a top team, but they're probably going to move on from Ryan Tannehill. They might draft a quarterback, but if they could give away decent compensation and have Derek Carr in this division, I think it sets them up pretty well. So that'd be my third team.
Yeah, that's another good team. And also throw out the Denver Broncos just because Case Keenum hasn't really worked out how they wanted. He got booed at the last home game. So I could see them making a move for a quarterback. But I think Amari Cooper has the potential to perform. We'll have to see if he does. But the Raiders have a chance to have 2 top 10 picks this year and another top 20 pick. So they could really pick up some really good players in the draft.
Yeah, and I think they're going to keep adding to this. I don't think we're done seeing the Raiders moves.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so either. I think this is a complete rebuild, like throwing everything away, which I don't really understand. And to be honest, I haven't understood a whole lot that John Gruden has done. And I also didn't understand them giving John Gruden 10 years, $100 million. Like nothing the Raiders have done in the last couple years made sense to me. But like the best move they've made is moving Amari Cooper. Because I think the value, when you get a first round back from Amari Cooper, I don't really care how you felt about it. You know that's great value. So he's not really worth the first round to me. But that's incredible value. So even if they were doing well, I would still trade Amari Cooper for a first round, even if we're not rebuilding.
Yeah. We're 5-2. I'm trading Amari Cooper for a first rounder.
We can be undefeated. I'm trading Amari Cooper.
And the Giants were asking
first rounder.
Yeah, the Giants were asking for 2 first rounders for Odell, so I think it makes what they were trying to do completely acceptable now. Like if you're giving up a first rounder for Amari Cooper, you're definitely giving up. We can't even put them in the same class. We can't even put them 2 tiers apart. So 3 first round picks for Odell makes sense if you're giving up 1 first round pick for Amari Cooper.
Like I agree with that. With the train of thought, with Amari Cooper setting the market, I agree with you. It only makes sense.
Odell give 3 first round picks.
I like where you were headed. I don't know about 3 though.
No, I'm saying 3 from what Amari Cooper just got for 1. 3 for Odell is what would make sense from what they got for Amari Cooper, because they're not even in the same class. They're not anywhere near each other. I think Amari Cooper, the way he's playing, is a really good number 3 receiver, and Odell's a top 3 receiver in the league. So I'm not saying the Rams should have given up 3 first round picks. I'm saying that it makes it completely plausible now for the Giants to ask for 2 first round picks if this is what the Cowboys gave up for Amari Cooper.
Oh yeah, I could see that happening, like without a doubt.
Yeah, it also makes which is another thing. As the Dallas Cowboys, how dare y'all give up a first round pick for Amari Cooper? That makes no sense. But if you think about it, like the Giants wanted 2 first rounds for Odell, we gave up 1 for Amari Cooper. So real talk, we could have just given up another one and got Odell.
Yeah.
That's all you really had to do is come up 1 more first round pick and you got Odell. Probably the best receiver in the league for the next 5 years. Or you could get the best third receiver in the league for the next 5 years. Or at best, Amari Cooper's a really good second receiver. I don't really see him being a number 1. And you moved all that for them.
they're bringing him in as a number one, which makes no sense to me.
Which makes no sense because the Raiders already made that mistake. So this makes no sense to me.
And you could have gotten a much cheaper player of the same caliber in Demaryius Thomas if you had waited just like a week. And also, Des Bryant is still a free agent, so I really don't get what.
Real quick, for a single season, would you rather have Des or Amari?
Des.
Right now?
Yeah.
I'd rather have Amari.
If I'm giving up a first rounder?
No, I think it's just
just straight receiver versus.
Yeah. Because of context, like you can pay Des outright for whatever he's asking, which is like $10 million, or you can give up a first round for Amari Cooper.
Oh, I'd sign Des for $10 million all day.
Yeah, context and everything. I'm taking Des. Just player, I might take Amari.
Also, I think there's
because he's younger.
After 2014, there's this trend in the NFL of drafting receivers really high. I mean, it's always happened, but like after 2014, the way those receivers popped off, it's been kind of crazy. And the year following 2014, Amari Cooper was drafted in the first round. Kevin White was drafted 7th overall. Devontae Parker was drafted 14th overall. Philip Dorsett was drafted 29th overall. Nelson Aguilar was drafted 20th. So that's 5 receivers right there. And all 5 of them haven't lived up to their draft potential. They haven't lived up to first-round picks. 2016 wasn't a good year for receivers. 2017, Corey Davis isn't looking good. John Ross isn't looking good. Mike Williams has flash potential, but he definitely hasn't looked like a top 10 draft pick. And it's like either scouts are becoming bad at looking at receivers, or receivers just aren't producing, or it's becoming too easy in college. Yeah, it's just overvalued. Yeah. It's becoming too easy in college to look good, which is weird because DBs are kind of getting better and better.
Yeah, I really don't think it's about looking good. I really think it's an overvaluing of that position. And so that, like, we've had this conversation with Zahn about other positions, but when you go into a draft, like, I feel like NFL teams look at every first round and it's like, all right, there got to be 3 receivers in there. We're going to need 3 running backs. 4 quarterbacks have to go. So it's like, or we could look at the people who have first round talent, the people who we think are going to be first round receivers. Of all the first round receivers you named from that 2014 draft, back in 2014, the only one I liked that I thought like, oh, you drafted him at a pretty good spot was Nelson Aguilar. I thought he was like
2015.
In 2015, yeah, at the spot that he was drafted, I thought it was pretty good value. I thought Amari Cooper was a reach. I thought damn sure Kevin White was a reach. Devontae Parker was beyond reach. So like, and then what happens is later down the line we assign these values because like, oh, you were a 14th overall pick, you were a 7th overall pick, you should be this. Nah, bro, nothing about my play told you I should be drafted 7th overall. That's just what the NFL did. So it's not fair to these players. But it's ridiculous.
And it really makes the trade for Amari Cooper worse for the Cowboys because clearly teams aren't going to draft receivers high anymore. Usually that's how it goes. There's been 3 failed draft classes. Literally, I just looked through the whole list. I don't want to name them because there's that many bad receivers in the past 3 years that have been drafted. And it's a trend, and receivers are going to start to fall a little. It's kind of like what happened with running backs. Is you're not going to see as many receivers drafted in the first round. Once running backs started to have success again in the first round, that's when you saw them getting drafted. You saw Fournette go top 5. You saw Zeke go top 5. You saw Barkley go top 5. You're not going to see receivers going top 5 this year. I could guarantee you that right now. You're probably not even going to see one in the top 10. So the Cowboys really put themselves out a draft pick, a lot of money, when they could have probably had a receiver later in the draft.
Yeah. And that's the logic. To me, that's the logic that results in bad wide receiver classes and bad running back classes. Like, the fact that we look at past drafts as any way to indicate what this next draft is going to look like, it's kind of crazy to me. Because each draft has nothing to do with the last. So, for me, if 5 running backs went in the first 5 picks of the last draft, what does this class look like? Are there any running backs? Yes or no? The last draft really doesn't have much to do with it. Of the receivers that I know in college football, I don't really think any of them are top 10. I haven't been paying like crazy attention to receivers in college football, but none of them seem like top 10. So you're probably right. There's not going to be a lot of receivers drafted, but that's because they're just not that good, though.
Yeah,
But
I
now
agree with
thinking
that.
about it,
They definitely should start to go round by round. But real quick, back to the Raiders, I kind of feel like where they're at and what their direction is, I feel like John Gruden kind of walked in and saw, all right, I don't have the team I want right here, and I got 10 years to build the team I want, so fuck it. I'm gonna just start a rebuild.
Yeah, I agree. They gave me 10 years to do it. It's like
So
at this point I could really start over, and 3 years from now my team will probably be pretty good. Which, that's an insane amount of security. Yeah. But hey, I can't even be mad at them because I probably thought the same thing.
Over the next 2 years, they have 5 first-round picks. That is absurd. And if they trade Derek Carr, they're probably going to add at least 1 more first-round pick.
Another
so 6 first-round picks. Yeah, maybe even 2 first-round picks for a franchise quarterback. So the Raiders are potentially going to have 7 first-round picks over the next 2 years.
Yeah, same. That's the kind of, and if you're going to start a rebuild or 10-year contract,
that's
and
not
you
a
want
bad
me to believe
place.
in it. Exactly. This is how you do it. Like if you come into the like, I know, our team is ass, but we about to turn around.
I got 10 years.
Give me 3 years. Exactly. Give me 3 years. I promise you we're gonna be good. I got 7 first-round picks over the next 2 years. I'd be like, all right, we can ride it out for a couple years. We'll see what you're talking about because you did already trade away every player that really mattered to us. So yeah, we can ride it out. Yeah, that is interesting. But back to the Raiders. To be honest, I like Carl Joseph. I really don't know if Derek Carr is going to get traded. That one just doesn't make any sense to me, to be honest with you. I just think he's too good, too valuable, and too young to trade him. Even if Gruden doesn't. Like we said, he got 10 years, and the next 5 or 6, you could use Derek Carr to keep you stable. But at the same time, that'll make you a good team, which means your draft won't be that good. So if you're really trying to tank, move Derek Carr.
Yeah.
But
get rid of Derek Carr.
I could. Yeah, exactly. If you really try to tank, but I could. He's too valuable to me. Similar to Khalil Mack, if we're being honest, and they didn't really care about Khalil Mack, so there is no precedent on this. But I don't know. The Raiders.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he's anywhere near Khalil Mack's value, but I see where you were headed.
Yeah,
Khalil
exactly.
Mack is probably the most valuable player in the NFL, but besides Aaron Donald and Todd Gurley and a few others, but I wouldn't throw Derek Carr up there.
No, I agree. Well, I might because he's a quarterback and a young one. I do agree with you though. Khalil Mack is top 5 in the league as far as impact and stuff like that. But, young quarterbacks just got a slightly different value. So next on the trade list, Patrick Peterson said he wants out of Arizona. That was interesting. And of course, Antonio Brown's done before. He did it with Joe Hayden actually, which is how we ended up getting him. But Antonio Brown then put on Twitter that he wants Patrick Peterson in Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, he's not our GM, so we don't really know if he'll make that move. But where do you guys see Patrick Peterson going? And you think he's still a difference maker? Think he can still put a team over the hump?
Yeah,
absolutely.
For sure.
Patrick Peterson's still one of the best corners. He's still one of the best shutdown corners. I'm going to throw a team out, and I swear if they get him, I'm already all over this team. So if they get Patrick Peterson, they're going to be my Super Bowl favorites, and it's the Kansas City Chiefs. And they were apparently going to trade for Earl Thomas.
That makes a lot of sense.
And I think makes a lot of sense for you to get a shutdown corner. You play in a pretty tough division. You play in the AFC, and your offense is not going to stop scoring points. And if your defense can even be decent at covering opposing number 1 receivers, you're going to put yourself at such a good spot. And they're going to be aggressive. They're 6-1. They have the best offense, arguably the best offense, along with the Rams in the NFL. And Patrick Peterson still, I think, has a lot of juice left. So if they get him, I think it's not over. I don't think they're definitely going to win, but they would be my pick right now if they get Patrick Peterson to go to the Super Bowl and possibly win it.
Yeah, I really like that pick. I saw a stat, I think 2 weeks ago before they played the Bengals and Andy Dalton shit the bed that they were giving up 450 yards on average or something, or it was a ridiculous amount of yardage every game. And like just adding Patrick Peterson, I don't even know who their other cornerbacks are, to that defense would be a huge upgrade. I think Patrick Peterson at this stage is kind of like a rental. I don't think he has too long left, and I think the Chiefs are in a win-now situation, so I think it would be a perfect fit. And I don't blame Patrick Peterson at all for wanting to get out of Arizona.
At all.
No, me neither. They're going nowhere.
If I'm the Cardinals, for what it's worth, whatever I could get, I would trade Larry Fitzgerald too. I think he's done so much for your damn team. He's been the best citizen. He's
only
helped
if
this
he wants
team.
out.
Only if he wants
but
out.
He might not
but
want
like,
out.
if he does,
he might not.
Yeah, and he might not. But like for him, if I'm the GM, I'm going up to Larry Fitzgerald and I'm saying, dude, do you want to get out of here? Because I'll trade you wherever you want to go. Because he deserves that. Larry Fitzgerald is one of the greatest players of all time, and he deserves to be able to win. He deserves to be able to contend, which is the Cardinals. Even if Larry Fitzgerald doesn't retire after this year, which would be kind of another miracle in itself, this Cardinals team is at least 2 years away from being even talked about as a playoff team. So if he wants out, trade him. If Patrick Peterson wants out, trade him. Let these players who have done nothing but do well and good for your city, for your organization, let them go where they want to go.
I agree. But that would be Larry Fitz in another uniform would be, that'd be scary. I'd imagine Larry Fitz is probably like Dirk though. Like he don't want to go nowhere. He'd rather just like rot in the bottom of the standings with his home team rather than play for anybody else. Hey, we don't know.
Which is great, right? Yeah, which is amazing. But if Patrick Peterson goes to the Chiefs, man, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, it would. That would be, and that was a way to pull that one out of a hat because I didn't see that one coming. That would be a crazy good pick. Kind of replacing Marcus Peters for a year or two, and probably a better version, to be honest with you.
Yeah, much better. Much better version.
I don't know about much. I like Marcus Peters, even though he gambles a lot and he's got his issues. But that's
which is the thing is like opposing quarterbacks don't really even throw the ball towards Patrick Peterson. And when they do, he's athletic enough to make an interception or make a play on the ball like we saw against the Broncos. Don't test Patrick Peterson.
Yeah, he will because he will surprise you. Yeah, that's for those reasons. I hope Patrick Peterson comes to the Steelers. That would be insane. Insane pickup. Defense really needs it on the back end. And until we solve that middle linebacker issue, which I think is a much harder issue to solve than this cornerback issue, we're just going to have to stock the rest of the defense up like crazy with playmakers and guys that can change games because we can't stop nobody from running up the middle, so we might as well make some spectacular plays on the outside. That'd be fantastic to get Patrick Peterson. I think that'd probably make us a Super Bowl, like a real Super Bowl contender. Get us off the dark horse list.
That would help, but I don't think Patrick Peterson is exactly what y'all need. You need like a linebacker because that loss of Ryan Shazier really hurt. But another team that I'll throw out there.
There is no linebackers. No, I was just saying there are no linebackers. They're much harder to find.
Yeah, for sure. And another team that I'll throw out there, because they need some quarterback help and they're decent. They have a chance. They're probably a playoff team, and they've already added a veteran defensive back. Is the Panthers? I think their corners are really weak, and they already added Reid earlier in the year. So I think adding Patrick Peterson would kind of bolster that secondary and give them a real shot to like contend against these better offenses. Because their defense has always been good. It's just the passing defense needs some help.
Yeah, that's a solid. Yeah. That's a solid team.
I agree with you on that wholeheartedly. All right, and last but not least on the trade conversation is Demaryius Thomas for the Denver Broncos. They're not really going anywhere, and last we heard, he might be on the trade block. I myself am not that high on Demaryius Thomas, but he could be a really good receiver for a contender, really good third receiver. It doesn't have much future in him because he's old, but if somebody's looking for a receiver, a tough receiver who could make some tough catches, Demaryius Thomas might be your guy. How do you guys feel about Demaryius Thomas and what he's looking like, where his next destination might be?
I like Demaryius Thomas still. He's not the receiver he once was. I think the years he had with Peyton Manning and the 1 year he had with Tim Tebow were definitely his best, and I think he's out of that prime. One team, I think Sam just mentioned them, is the Carolina Panthers. Their young receivers don't seem to be clicking exactly, and I think it would be really helpful for Cam to have a receiver like Demaryius Thomas who he can just kind of throw to when he wants. Greg Olsen obviously isn't the same. A lot of people were hyped up about him coming back from injury, but like when you have that many injuries, you go through that. You're constantly having surgery or getting something replaced in your legs and your bones. It takes a toll, and I think Demaryius Thomas could come in and really help the Panthers. I think the Panthers are a pretty good team. We don't know obviously if he's gonna go there, but it would be really helpful to them. And another team I'll throw out because I've heard of this team wanting to trade for a receiver. Pretty much like every time there's a receiver traded, I see that this team's interested, and it's the Washington Redskins. They need receiver help bad. Jameson Crowder just isn't healthy. Paul Richardson isn't healthy. Josh Doxson is looking like a first-round bust, which goes on to our conversation about how teams are picking bad receivers in the first round. The Redskins are another team that need receiver help, and they're at the top of their division. They're 4-2. The NFC East does not look good. The Dallas Cowboys, we don't know what's going to happen with them. The Philadelphia Eagles aren't looking like the same Super Bowl team, and well, the Giants are just the Giants. So the Redskins have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs and make something happen. So if getting Demaryius Thomas helps them, I think they put themselves in a pretty decent spot.
Yeah, I don't think Demaryius Thomas is obviously as good as he once was, but I think he still has another 1,000-yard season or two left in him. And I didn't even know about the Redskins looking for receivers, but the minute I heard he was available, I thought about the Redskins just because they're solid contenders right now. They lead the division, and they're like a game and a half up, so they have a decent chance to win the division. And I think adding some receiver depth and, more importantly, a veteran receiver to, work with Alex Smith, who hasn't really found a connection with one of those guys on the offense yet, that would mean a lot to them.
It's my offense. Yeah. I kind of like the Jaguars. I don't know if they would, sell out for Demaryius Thomas. And honestly, with their quarterback situation, I don't really know if a receiver matters. But if they can kind of get Blake Bortles to play like an NFL quarterback or find another solution at Blake Bortles, then they could use a big receiver that could catch some balls deep, because they lost Allen Robinson. And a lot of the receivers they have are like small, fast guys, which are cool, but sometimes it's nice to have a receiver that can go get it with some body and stuff like that. And so Demaryius Thomas to the Jaguars would probably be my most likely fit, my best fit. Now that the Cowboys traded for Amari Cooper, fucking idiots. Definitely the Jags. Yeah, sure. Speaking of Blake Bortles and the Jags, they're running into some real issues with Blake Bortles. We haven't heard much about trading Blake Bortles or anything like that, but he got benched last game. They said he's going to be on a short leash this game. He's just played absolutely terrible. And they knew everybody knows Blake Bortles isn't an all-pro quarterback, but, most of the league figured he'd be competent, and he hasn't. It's completely killed the Jaguars' chances to go into the Super Bowl. So they're going to have to either make some moves or something. And there's a lot of big names out there, quarterback-wise, they could acquire or try to sign and things like that. So I know, Razan, you on Eli Manning. So tell us what you think about Eli Manning and the Jags.
Yeah, I think Tom Coughlin being in Jacksonville makes a difference. But if the Jaguars lose, so the trade deadline is next Tuesday, October 30th. So the Jaguars play Sunday morning, and I think if they lose this game and Blake Bortles doesn't play well, they have to trade for a quarterback because I think they're still good enough to be able to make the playoffs as a wild card team or even win their division, because their division isn't all that. So my thing with Eli Manning, last night's game showed you that if you give Eli Manning time, if you give him a decent run game, which the Jaguars have, is that he can make things happen. The throws he made last night actually really impressed me. Obviously, I love Eli. He's been my quarterback for the past 15 years, but I was starting to doubt him much like everybody else has been and kind of been on his tail. But the throws he made last night, you can't look at this Giants team and say that Eli Manning is the problem. He completed 71% of his passes, threw for 399 yards. I get it. It's a bad Atlanta pass defense. But the Jaguars need someone to manage the game and won't turn the ball over and will make the smart throws. Eli is more than smart. Eli can make the throws that they need. They're not an air it out type of team that needs Eli to go out there and throw 35, 40 passes a game. Maybe throw the ball 20 times, make the smart, right, proper reads. And I think Eli can do that. And also as a Giants fan, I want to see us move on from our quarterback and see whatever we have. We have Kyle Lauletta, who we drafted in the 4th round. I want to see him play. I want to see if there's anything that he could do, if there's any sign of hope from what we may already have. And I don't think it's fair for Eli to be sitting on the bench and pay for the mistakes of what this organization wasn't able to do and bring a team together. So I would like for Eli to go to a different team, and the Jaguars are the best option. Obviously, he has a great relationship with Tom Coughlin. Another quarterback is Derek Carr. I think it makes a lot of sense. If they want to get rid of him, the Jaguars, I think, should be more than willing to give up a first-round pick. Their situation with Blake Bortles was kind of interesting because even if they cut him or trade him, they're going to be on the hook for $11.5 million next year, which if you add his salary plus what Derek Carr is getting paid, which is, I think, around $25 million a year, you're looking at committing around $36.5 million to your quarterback group, which is obviously tough to do. I think Eli comes in and he plays this year and he's done. He's like 38 years old, I think, 37 maybe. And he's made a lot of money. He's won Super Bowls. He doesn't really need to be in the league for anything else anymore. So Derek Carr and Eli Manning make a lot of sense. I think Eli makes a little bit more sense. The Jags don't have to give up nearly as much. I think it'd take a 5th rounder, maybe even less, maybe a 6th rounder to get Eli. I think it'd put them in a good situation.
Yeah, I think to be in such a bad situation with their quarterback, the Jags are in a good situation to make a move because they're 3-4 right now. They're only a game out of first place behind the Texans. And they have the 4th worst offense in the AFC. What that says to me is they need a new quarterback. Their defense has taken a small step back this year, but they're still the Jags defense. They're still extremely talented and put a better offense on the field. I'm sure the defense will step up in a huge way. We just need someone that can lead the team and manage a game on offense. And I think Eli, Derek Carr, and I'm sure you can even trade for a few backups out there that would be good fits.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if the Jaguars were smart about this and gave up a 2nd rounder for Jimmy Garoppolo. Imagine if they had tried to go after Kirk Cousins. Like, this would be – I honestly don't think they would have lost the game yet. Like, they're that good. Maybe other than to the Chiefs. Those 2 quarterbacks have shown Alvin, you and I were talking about this. Kirk Cousins looks amazing. He looks absolutely fantastic. And give him this run game, give him these quick, well-disciplined receivers, and this is an extremely good team. So I think the Jaguars just kind of messed up. They were overconfident about Blake Bortles because of the way he played in the playoffs against the Steelers, and he looked really good, and he basically carried them. And you know, it happens. It's whatever. Now you have to correct that mistake, and they have to do it now.
Yeah, they have to do it now while they're still only a game out because they can still make a move in the playoffs this year. They're not out of it yet.
Absolutely.
I feel like with the Jags situation, I like Eli, but Eli, to me, doesn't solve their future. And I don't think Eli's the best they could really do right now. I think Eli would be a really good plan B. I think he'd probably get them to the division round. I mean, definitely to the playoff division round, maybe conference. But I think they've got a good enough team to shoot for the Super Bowl. Derek Carr, now that would put them in the Super Bowl for me. But I don't know if they're going to be able to pull that off. Some of the names I was thinking about while we were talking about this earlier, it's not going to happen this year, which I doubt they could pull the trade with the Bucs this year. But Jameis Winston would be – they should give him a really good look because he could be the answer to their prayers. He's definitely better than Blake Bortles. I'd argue he's probably as good as Eli Manning right now, maybe a little bit better, or maybe a little worse. But in that same ballpark, and he's much younger. Yeah, he's got some other issues and all of that, but he's still a competent quarterback that can make throws. He doesn't take care of the ball that well, but you can turn, like, if you were able to get Blake Bortles to suppress his turnover machine, even for a game, then you can get Jameis Winston to not have so many errant throws and interceptions and to not take so many chances on bad throws. So I think Jameis would be a good pick, and I think Derek Carr would be a home run, though. If they could get Derek Carr, then, in my opinion, put them in the Super Bowl 2 out of the next 4 years. Like, it's going to be one of those kind of dynasties, if you ask me. But yeah, I definitely think this year it's only about getting to the playoffs, because once you get to the playoffs, not only can anything happen, but they have the team structure to make anything happen. They got a defense. Defense always travels, and they got a running game. Running game also travels. So what more can you ask for?
Yeah, I mean, you just said defense and running game travels, and for that reason, I don't think they need Jameis because, yeah, Jameis is better than Blake Bortles and Eli talent-wise, but I don't think he's smarter than either one of them. And what the Jags need is a smart quarterback.
He's not smarter than Bortles?
I think he's smarter than Blake Bortles.
He doesn't take care of the ball.
I think, yeah, maybe, but also I think that's because he's asked to do way more than Blake Bortles. Like, if you told Jameis to dial it back, like 4 notches, like they have Blake Bortles, I think he'd be okay.
You think Jameis can dial it back?
Yes. Like, yeah, don't throw prayers up anymore. We're not doing that. Just hand it off. Just check it down. Like, that's what they've been preaching to Blake Bortles. If preach the same thing to Winston, I think he's a much better quarterback.
I don't know. I don't think Jameis is that smart of a quarterback. I think he has talent, but I mean, you can always get smarter. So, that's
agreed.
Not much to worry about. Also, I think you're kind of overvaluing Derek Carr. I don't think he can take them to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row. He's good, but he's not.
I said 2 out of 4. I said like getting there 2 out of 4. But why not? With this defense, all you need is somebody that can just not turn the ball over and just move the chains a couple of times a game. Derek Carr is more than that.
Yeah, you're right. But
you know what I mean? He's like a B-level quarterback, so that would be heavy upgrade.
I mean, really, you just need someone to take care of the ball. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
And the Jags
they just need to move on from Blake Bortles is what they need.
I agree, because he's literally the exact opposite of what they need. Like, the one thing he cannot do is the one thing they can't have, which is turn the ball over. It's crazy. Now, man, last week against the Chargers, the Jaguars had a drive starting point of their own 37-yard line on defense. So the Chargers had a drive starting point of the 37-yard line, which is insane. Blake Bortles fumbled twice in his own red zone. That's insane. So, like, when you ask defenses to not let teams score when they only got to go 25 yards to score a touchdown, not even a field goal, just to score a touchdown, we're already in field goal range. You asking for a lot. Yeah, asking for a whole lot. Last but not least, one of the biggest stories that kind of happened over the weekend, and it's been going on for a while now. Reid came back for as y'all know, he signed for the Panthers. Had a big game this weekend. Got in an altercation before the game. He got in an altercation during the game, which I thought was hilarious. The altercation during the game was funny when he put Greg Olsen on his ass. And then after the game, he, in a press conference interview, they asked, Zach Ertz, my bad, wrong team, my bad. Put Zach Ertz on his ass. But after the game, in the press conference, they asked him about, some of the altercations and where this hostility comes from. And he went after Malcolm Jenkins and the Players Coalition, basically called Malcolm Jenkins a sellout, basically, like, we don't have the same views, I'm not with them, and he called him cowardly, kind of has no respect for Malcolm Jenkins. Kaepernick, after the game, came out and said he's with Reid, which I didn't know that this whole anthem protest was going to have a divide in it. But if it does, I feel like we should all side with Cap. Like, whichever side Cap's on is probably the right side. And it seems like he's on the side with Reid. And for those who don't know the little nuances of this rivalry that they have going on here, the beef stems because I remember back when the NFL agreed to that deal for $89 million to play to the Players Coalition. Right when that happened, the NFL agreed to pay $89 million to the Players Coalition as in like form of charity to put up towards social issues. A part of the deal, this is important, Malcolm Jenkins and the Players Coalition agreed to match whatever the NFL put up. So now both parties are putting up $89 million.
That's a lot of money for the players.
Exactly. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money in general. $170 million. That's a lot of money. But when that happened, Malcolm Jenkins texted Reid and said, we got this new deal, blah, 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 $89 million, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of it, he's like, will you be willing to stop protesting? At the time, Reid, Kaepernick, everybody was a part of this players coalition. It was all one movement. Reid felt disrespected by that because he felt like the NFL was like the players coalition to agree to take that hush money. And
yeah, that's like buying them off.
Exactly. Yeah. That's how Eric Reid feels, is that you got bought off by this. But also not only just that, another big piece for this, and I'm now speaking for myself, just looking at the situation. I've heard Eric Reid and other reporters and Malcolm Jenkins say that stuff. But just speaking for myself, I don't really care how much money the NFL gives to the player coalition or any of the issues that they're fighting for, because for me, money means almost nothing when you're actively racist. And the fact that Colin Kaepernick is still not on a team is active racism. And so, like, all this money you dishing out is cool, except you're still not signing that guy. And we got too many teams out here without quarterbacks, and not just year, because every year he gets older. So it makes it feel a little less racist that he's not signed. But he's still better than some of these quarterbacks we got out here, and the NFL refuses to sign him. So it's like, for me, not that it really matters, but I'm with Reid, because that 89 is fine and dandy. But the fact that, one, it's kind of only $89 million from the NFL owners. Y'all could cough up a little bit more. Two, y'all made the players match. I get it, but it just on principle doesn't seem quite right. Doesn't sit right with me. Three, that there's this inclination that it's a hush money, that you're paying people to be silent so that they can't continue to protest. And four, the fact that you still didn't sign the head of this movement. If they really felt so strongly about this movement and felt that they really wanted to make things right in America, why not sign the head of the movement for, like, just to sign the head of as a move of good faith or something, like, you know what I mean? Even if you feel like he might not be the starting quarterback to change your team and take you to the Super Bowl, if as your NFL organization, y'all seem to have come together to not sign him, the least you could have done is come together and say somebody's got to sign him to get this conversation and to get this social issue moving in the right direction. And so the way I see it, and I'm sure the way Reid sees it, very little progress can be made and will be made until issues like Colin Kaepernick are resolved. And no matter how much money you pay, there's still the issue of Colin Kaepernick, and that it just feels like racism and inequality and hush money and a whole terrible power dynamic that America is built on. And this shit has to stop, to be honest with you. This shit has to stop. And I'm with Eric Reid. He can fight as many Ertzes as he wants to and Michael Jenkins as he wants to until, I guess, people listen to him. Because he's playing well, he's doing his thing, and people need to listen to him. Keep protesting and listen to the man because he's on to something. Got to sign Kaepernick or this racist mess will never end. It just won't.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Like, the older he gets, the harder it is for a team justify signing him. And it's kind of like, maybe in 2 years, some team will be like, we want to sign Colin Kaepernick, but like, what will we, like, he's already been out of the league. This is his second year being out of the league. Is like, what can he even accomplish then? And I think he should have been signed a long time ago. It shouldn't have even been an issue. I think NFL fans are bigger than that. I think NFL fans can speak volumes, and ratings are as high as ever. You look at some of the night games, and they're amazing games. The NFL's making more money than they've ever made before. And, you know, for an organization like this that's so big and so powerful, to hold something like that against a player is absolutely ridiculous, and it's upsetting. And I agree with Eric Reid. Malcolm Jenkins definitely looks like a sellout. He looks like somebody who did it for the money, and once that money was given, he was like, you know what?
I'm good.
And Malcolm Jenkins is a rich player. You look at his contracts, he's made a lot of money. He's been a staple of multiple teams. He just won the Super Bowl. It's like, what does he have to fight for? And that's the way Malcolm Jenkins saw it. It was selfish. I agree with Eric Reid. I hope that one day we get over this bullshit of teams treating Colin Kaepernick the way they are.
And not just Colin Kaepernick, like, because there's oh man, actually, you know what? We're gonna save that for another show. But not just Colin Kaepernick. There's a lot of little nuances and racial mistreatments of NFL quarterbacks. We can get into other NFL players if y'all want to, but specifically the black NFL quarterback doesn't get treated the same, and that shit's a problem.
Yeah, I agree with basically everything you said, Alvin. Also, like $90 million to the NFL is absolutely nothing.
It's
This is
chump
probably
change.
chump change. Like, I feel like every time we talk about money in NFL, I'm constantly saying like they, the owners like eat so much of the money. It's ridiculous. They're so greedy. 90 million is nothing. They should pay more. And it's the Kaepernick is a problem, but even more of a problem is the NFL is still silent on it.
Yep.
I didn't even know about this agreement until you just now brought it up. So even as they support it, they're still silent on it, which until they speak up and, actually try and push, change, I think the NFL is still like in the wrong, no matter how much money they throw out.
Yep. And one last thing before we go, I agree with that, and they're also like not progressive enough or not speaking enough on the anthem issue and all those kind of things. Like they were quiet about this deal, and they've also been relatively quiet about the rules of the anthem and what you can protest, and they just mishandled a lot of this. And I completely understand the frustration from Eric Reid and Kaepernick and a bunch of other players out there. But as usual, thank y'all again. It's been a blast being here with y'all. Sam and Razan, love to do this with y'all. Thanks for listening. Please reach out to us. Go to Fi Life. You can listen to us on SoundCloud. Go to Fi Life, Google Play, iTunes, Public Radio, iHeartRadio, whatever you want. I'm sure we got it. Please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you guys. So thank you for another great episode. If you guys got anything to say, now's your chance.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all for listening. Enjoy some NBA basketball. We'll be back with some of that next time.
Yeah, you guys
Yes,
be safe. Have a good weekend. And enjoy.
Yep.